Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet.
This review is brought to you in part by Dean's Hobby Stop in Owasso, Michigan. Dean's has one of the Midwest's largest selections of used kits at great prices. They also feature new kits and supplies as well. Call Dean's to get their mail order list featuring hundreds of vintage kits, or check their website for great deals on both new and classic models. This review covers the 1997 Dodge Copperhead Roadster. It's a 125 scale kit from Revell, number 1905. Now, unlike the Viper, the Copperhead had excellent handling and drivability, while the Viper was made more for straight-line power. Now, the Dodge Copperhead was due to be released in 2000, but it was canceled, and only one prototype was made for the 1997 North American International Auto Show in Detroit. The Dodge Copperhead was later unofficially renamed as the Dodge Concept Car, or the Dodge Concept Vehicle, due to a naming conflict with ZZ Top's Billy Gibbons, who owned a custom 50 Ford named the Copperhead. Now, Dodge's Copperhead had a 220 horsepower V6 and a 5-speed tranny, aimed squarely at the driving enthusiast. And it was a concept car created by Dodge as a slimmed-down $30,000 version of the Dodge Viper for buyers who couldn't afford the Viper's $75,000. This nicely detailed curbside snap kit has 37 pieces, molded in copper fire orange, dark gray, clear, transparent red, with soft Goodyear branded tires and metal axles. The kit also includes some sticker-style graphics, and when you're done, it's 6 3/4 inches long, 2 3/4 inches wide, and 1 3/4 inches high. That sounds like Newt tapping on the glass there. He's our program director, and I guess he's got something he wants to say about this one. Come on in here, Newt. What is it?
Too bad they didn't make those cars. It might have given the Corvette a little competition.
Well, maybe over time, Newt, but I think it was a little underpowered for that. It could have taken away some share of the market from the BMW and Mazda Roadsters, though, pretty sure. Here are the contents of the kit. As you can see, it's pretty cleanly made. It's a great slump buster for detailing, or an excellent model for the novice builder. And it comes with clear glass and metal axles, some nice looking tires. Now, it's a snap kit, but occasionally we'll use a little glue to make sure there's no seams that are showing. And if you see any products in this review, please remember to heed the manufacturer's safety and use guidelines for those products. And here are the sticker graphics that come with the kit. Now, I didn't use the big side wall and hood decals, but I did use some of the naming conventions there, the script, etc., and badges. But they just stick in place, so once again, a nice model for the beginning modeler. I started construction with the two mirrors, the hood and the body, and as I didn't need it separate, I decided I was going to glue the hood into place prior to painting. But if you're going to make a contest model, it does have a couple of sinks on the hood that you'll want to fill and then prime and paint your model. Now, both the interior and exterior molded in colors were just fine. The dark gray and the copper on the exterior I just left as is. But on the interior here, I used some flat white to paint the inserts on the side panels and the dash cluster there, as well as the speedometer right over the steering column. That's to give it a little reflectivity and a true color when I paint it with some body colored orange. So I just, after that had dried, hand brushed the paint and those inserts with a little thinner, and they came out pretty nicely. After the inserts had dried, I went back over and added some flat white to the instrument gauges, the dials there in the cluster on the dashboard. And next thing I did was to assemble the seat backs to the fronts, and I used a little thin liquid cement around the edges there to make sure that those edges and seams stayed close together and didn't show up. and they turned out pretty nicely. With one peg, they seem to fit very nicely, as well as all the parts in the kit, really. Very little flash and a good fit. I painted the carpeting there at the base of the interior bucket with some flat black, and the ejector pins there are hidden by the seats, so there's no reason to bother with those. The underside of the vehicle, as you can see here, a lot of this detail is molded in fact almost completely, and I gave it a coat of flat black primer to get it ready for detailing. As I mentioned, the exterior color was perfect. I really couldn't find a color match that was closer to that fire copper color, so I decided to just spray it with some Testors Wet Look Clear, and it came out really nicely. It's a well-designed kit for a snap kit, and once that was done, I had a nice sheen and a nice look to my exterior body. With the flat black paint still out there, I was able to use a little detailing in the inserts of the grille and the side ports of the vehicle itself. The clear red tail lights are one piece, and they're attached to the sprue here, so carefully remove the sprue, and I used a metal paint, one of the metal paint markers, and I painted the inside backside of the lenses to give it a little reflectivity for the tail light. Now, this kit didn't come with any masks or pre-decorated windshield surrounds, so I used a wide Sharpie marker to just kind of trace around the little ridges that are embossed in the windshield and make a nice clean line, as clean as I could. You can sometimes touch that up a little bit with some lighter fluid on a toothpick end to remove any obvious errors, but that's how I got the window surrounds placed around both the windshield and, as you see here, the headlight covers lenses that go in front. So there is the finished product with the liner over the top, and the top is a little rugged, but it gets covered up with some orange paint on the front anyway. So here you can see that I did a little more detailing on the dash. I used some gauges from Best Model Parts. It's a nice company with gauge details for the clusters there. Also, I just scraped off the numbers on the speedometer over the steering wheel. On the door panels, you can see there's some chrome Molotow pen applied to the door handles, and also a little bare metal foil on the rib there that separates the speaker, which I used a Sharpie to give that a little bit of a blackish tone to it. And next you see here the shifter. It's got a little orange around the diameter of the base there, and the base, of course, is painted kind of an aluminum color. Along with there's a small button behind the series of buttons behind that shifter that are painted with the chrome pen. And then the seats are ready to install. Now, as you see the dashboard here, the center entertainment cluster there in the center console cluster of the dash, that was painted aluminum and then highlighted with some black. And the steering wheel has a chrome trim ring around the horn button area, and that got detailed there. Of course, the shifter has that orange rim around the aluminum plate, and then of course behind that another cluster of buttons that had some chrome treatment given to it. Next, you can snap in the dashboard, the seats, and then the steering wheel goes in there. And I gave it a little bit to set up, and then I went ahead and got out the side panels, which slip right down along the side there. They fit just right, and once they were all in place, I gave the interior a coat of clear flat to kind of dull down some of the orange paint and some of the shine on the seats. Now, the mirrors, side view mirrors, are installed into these notches, and there's a couple of ribs there that were actually a bit too long. I had to cut off a little bit of the base there so that ratcheting system for the mirrors would fit in there, and then you just fold the mirrors out. And notice the arrow here. These mirrors, they didn't have any mirror surface to them, so I filled those up with some liquid CA glue, and then I added, after that dried, I added some of the chrome pen to give that mirror a nice look. And now it's time to place the tail lights into position. And also notice the ribs there just below the tail lights. I filled those in with some black craft paint mixed with a little soap and water, and then I just smoothed out the rest with a little cloth and some damp cloths, and clean that up. And then the installation comes in from the inside of the body, and then it's on two pegs, but I found that they didn't fit exactly right on those pegs, so I took the center half out and I glued the items there on left and right tail lights into position from the back side so that they fit perfectly. Now it's time to install the interior bucket into the body, and notice there's a little gap up front there. That's where the windshield will slide in underneath the hood later. But if you take a look here, you see that the front and the rear both have positive locating points. There's some pegs there on the front side, and there's a big plate, and you can use those to snap that into position. And then I used a little epoxy glue to keep them in place. And now our model is coming together rapidly. You can see we're going to add the chassis now, and it has been detailed. You see steel on the engine section and the exhaust pipes, and aluminum on the muffler and the tranny. The oil filter there is picked out in orange, and the starter's gloss black. And of course the rear end pumpkin also aluminum. Now we're going to wiggle that thing into position, and it fits pretty tightly there, but you can see here from the locations where this thing is to be positioned once you get it into place, and it fit like a glove, but it is very nice fit, and it won't give you any problems. Next we'll add the chrome exhaust tips, and I detailed the ends there with a little bit of flat black. But also note that they are left and right-handed. There's a little relief there where they side up alongside the exhaust pipes coming out the sides and meets them there at the extremities of the back. So make sure that you get those in the right position. And note once again the plate there that is just below that notch on the bottom of the roll pan. Well, feast your eyes on some skinny rattlesnake tread Goodyear tires, and Goodyear predominantly embossed enough to add a little dry brushing to bring those out on the top and the bottom of each tire. Now, I don't know if they actually ever made that tire, but it sure looks great on this model. Also, note that there are bigs and littles, so you have to make sure you get the bigs with the big wheels, and then you can assemble the tires. You see the pieces here, and then they assemble like that. There's also some chrome brake calipers or brake rotors, but no calipers, so that'd be an additional item if you want to add some more detail. Now we can add those wheels and axles. Just tap an axle into one side, thread it through the holes in the chassis, and then squeeze the other tire onto the other side until it rests on the stops there when they come together. You can do the same for the fronts, and as you see here, this is what your underside and chassis will look like, and it's really taking shape and form now for a finished type model. And so here's what your rolling chassis looks like. The wheels have been given a little a blush of what you call a tint or a black wash around the lug nuts there to bring those out. Now we can do a little detailing on the front end by using that chrome pen to highlight the headlights there, as well as we'll also do the turn signal lights with a little silver, so that when we put the amber in there, it's got some reflectivity. So go ahead and Pop those headlight covers into position, and they went right in and fit perfectly. You shouldn't have any trouble with those. Now you see here that the windshield has had the frame painted on it on the outside, and on the inside it's black like the interior. But also note that I probably could have done this better by not gluing the hood on initially and just taping it into position for the purposes of painting, because now I had to go in between the hood and the substructure there and clip that pin a little bit to slide the windshield in so that the hole there in front would fit into that notch. So it doesn't really matter, but unless you don't have the tools, or you can just leave the hood off until after you've put the windshield in place and then glue the hood into position. And now it's time to add those stickers to the model, and I didn't use the large graphics, just the script and things on the lower right there. So I put those into position. So here's what I had left over from the kit. Just some of the decals and one screw, which didn't go in anywhere. Apparently they decided not to use it, but also there's one screw in the front towards the front end underneath to screw the chassis to the body. So I put that into place just to make sure it didn't come back apart. Well, there you have it. Your model is complete, and the Mopar fans will always remember the Dodge Copperhead by its proper name, but it was rebadged for the auto show as the concept vehicle. And as you can see, it was quite a stunner for styling and grace as an automotive design back in 1997. I personally think that Chrysler would have had a hit on their hands had they produced this vehicle. If not, large volumes, at least for a showpiece to get people into the showrooms. So if I were you, I'd find one and put it on my shelf.